We are born free.
And we will die free.
The time in between, though,
that's complicated.
In that time, governments, institutions, and our egos will limit our ability to find true freedom in this life. These are real stories of real people overcoming the odds, persevering in justice, and unlocking their potential. Welcome to Finding Freedom. Here's your host, John Odermatt.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Finding Freedom right here on the Lions of Liberty Network. Really excited for today's episode. Got a friend of the show coming on, an entrepreneur, a very established fisherman out in Colorado. Just all around good guy, Lance Cayko. We'll be talking to him shortly. But before I introduce Lance, I want to remind you all, ask you all, if you haven't yet, please come join us. Come join us. The water's warm. Dip a toe in first, maybe if you want to, and then jump right in. Join us in the Lions of Liberty Pride. You can do so by joining us on Patreon at patreon.com/Lions of Liberty or on locals at lionsofliberty.locals.com. If you're one of those people who types in URLs and memorizes them, which is almost nobody now. So probably what you would do is you would just go to Patreon and you would type in Lions of Liberty. It would come up and you would select your level you want to join at, look at the perks and all that good stuff associated with it, and you'll be part of the pride. You'll be in our Facebook group. We have some conversations there where you get to watch our live streams when I have interviews like the one with Lance today. You could have already seen it last week. You could have commented on it during the live stream if you were in the pride, but you're not, so you didn't. And also at our $10 level, you actually get access to buying Run Your Mouth Coffee, which is a coffee company that myself and my friend Ben Panchi started a couple years ago. You'll get 15% off fresh roasted coffee at that level. We have other perks. You can actually produce a show at $50 and up, and you can actually at $100 and up, if you do $100 a month and up membership in the Lions of Liberty Pride, you actually get a short mention once per week on one of our episodes about maybe a podcast you have, a product, something of that nature. So check that out. And I guess the only other ask I would say, if you're new to this show and you're liking it, you're like, how can I help these guys? How can I help them to grow their platform? I would say what you can do is you can, of course, subscribe. If you haven't done that, please click that little miniature tiny plus sign that Apple, if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, that they've changed probably about a year ago now, where it's hard to subscribe to a podcast now. You gotta twist your finger to the side and just try to hit that plus sign to subscribe. It's an effort, but if you like this show, hopefully you'll make that effort or subscribe on whatever podcasting app you fancy. And that's actually one more thing I do want to mention. So a YouTube update. For those of you who have been with us for a long time, you know that we've had strikes and whatnot on YouTube, and we haven't been able to monetize. We haven't been able to do super chats, any of that stuff for years. We've always had like one or two strikes, and when you have that, you can't do any of that stuff. We're down to one strike, and it's set to expire like within days. So when this has happened in the past, YouTube has somehow just gone through our archives and dug something else up and given us another strike, which probably will happen. But if they don't, we'll be able to monetize. We'll be able to do super chats, more stuff with live streams, which would be awesome. But that might not happen. If it doesn't happen, then we'll be focusing more on Rumble, of course, and Odyssey. So if you're a fan of Rumble and Odyssey, we're growing our platforms there as well. So please come follow us on Rumble and Odyssey. And with that being said, let's get to today's show. All right, we are live to the Lions of Liberty Pride, and I am joined here by Lance Cayko. Lance has been, he was on my show when it was Felony Friday. I don't even remember what we talked about. I think there was some case or something in Colorado where we were talking about that. But today, Lance is here to talk about his entrepreneurial journey, his success as a business owner, and also success as a podcaster, also has a very awesome podcast called Inside the Firm. And also his success as a fisherman, really not only just catching fish with, he does a lot of that if you follow him on Facebook or on YouTube, but also being able to monetize it. So we'll get into that. Lance, welcome to Find Your Freedom, man.
Glad to be here, John. Yeah, thanks for inviting me on, buddy. It's good to see you. It's good to talk to you again here virtually.
Yeah, man. I'm doing there's like 3 episodes in a row, 2 or 3 episodes in a row where I'm really talking to, friends of mine like yourself who, really have had successful, entrepreneurial stories. And, I'm kind of lucky to know people like that who have really stepped out and kind of built these businesses up from nothing. I mean, I think I'm making the correct assumption that, you don't have someone rich that gave you thousands of dollars to build your business, right? You built this up basically on your own, right?
Yeah, I mean, with the help of my business partner and my best friend Al Gore, not the president, but the good Al Gore, the freedom-loving Al Gore, the traditional kind of family man Al Gore. Yeah, 100%. So we started our business in, let's see, we both graduated in 2008, and we graduated at the top of our class. Went to North Dakota State University, go Bison. And in our world, it's like the Harvard of the Midwest in terms of architecture school. It's a top 25 architecture school in the United States. And one of the things we were competing for, we went for a 5-year master's, so it was like a fast track. It's called the McKinsey Thesis Award, and it basically selects the top 5 students out of 40. And the original 40 also come from, it's selected from 350 just to get in the architecture school. So it's highly competitive. I ended up winning the McKinsey Thesis Award. And then Al likes to think that he basically won in a different way. He got the Alpha Chi Rho Award, which was sort of the best overall student, and that was selected by the professors. So we graduated, and we were on top of the Hodo, which is a hotel in downtown Fargo, kind of a posh hotel. We were standing around with our parents and our professors, and one of our favorite professors, who liked to call us the Renaissance team, his name was Daryl Booker. He kind of jokingly said to me and Al, he's like, "You guys should really team up and consider starting your own firm one day." And we said, well, maybe in 10 years. And then, we both graduated, we went our separate ways. And I landed in Boulder, Colorado. And then Al went to New York City. He worked for Daniel Libeskind. Daniel Libeskind, for anybody who doesn't know who that is, world famous architect. He's in the Denver Art Museum. He did the original redesign for World Trade Center 1 after 9/11. Super famous guy. He's done the Jewish Holocaust Museum in Germany. And then I went and worked in Boulder for a regionally famous firm that ended up winning AIA National Architects of the Year, Brad Tomasek and Christopher Harris, Studio HT. We both lasted about a year at each of our respective firms. We kept in touch. We were best friends. And then the Great Recession hit. And when the Great Recession hit, I lasted about 9 months, and you could see the writing on the wall. Mm-hmm. If you're an architect and you're working at a firm, and you can sense the work drying up, because the workload gets a lot lighter. Pretty soon you're just panning around on your computer, zooming in and out of CAD or whatever program you're using. And I'm not dumb. I had small businesses before I started this one, and before I even went to Boulder and started working for those guys. I'd always been an entrepreneur at heart. One of the first times that I ever made any money was my grandmother allowed us to pick choke cherries out of the choke cherry tree. We went to the farmer's market, sold them, and I was just kind of hooked on that, premise of like getting your freedom through your own work and sort of manifesting it that way. So let me ask. So how long after you were booted out of corporate America or laid off? I'm sure you would have found another job if you looked for long enough. But how long did it take for you after you lost that or were laid off from a job until you started your firm? Let's see. Well, that's a tricky question. So I was laid off in 2009. I think it was August. Completely heartbroken, driving home. Like tears in your eyes sort of thing, because like you work so hard to graduate at the top of the class and get to one of those top firms regionally or nationally or anything like that, and it just kind of destroys you, and you have no control over it. And as somebody who likes to have control over their life, that was pretty devastating. So that's what I was saying about the writing on the wall is what we started to do, Alex and I, even though we were both still working at respective firms separately, I started to build these CAD files. The software we use is called Revit. And what I was doing was I was noticing that there wasn't these very high-end, like architectural furniture pieces for this program. So I started making just a ton of them. I would get up super early, even before I had to go into work. While I was still working there, I'd make these models, and I uploaded them. I was making so many of them and uploading so many of them to turbosquid.com, which is kind of an original host of these models, that I started to get noticed by a company named Arcat and Sumex, who ended up working with all of these manufacturers to try to translate their 2D CAD drawings into these models. So I had a little pipeline started with that because I could see the writing on the wall. And the other thing I did is Craigslist used to be like a beautiful thing.
It did,
You
yeah.
used to be able to write, besides all the hookers and stuff, you used to be able to write.
I wasn't even talking about that. I was thinking of selling vacant land on Craigslist. It used to be awesome for that, but yeah, now it's just lunatics. Just
it is
crazy
lunatics,
people.
yeah. But what you could do for like 4 or 5 years is you could write a little bit of HTML in your ads, and you could put together these like little web pages.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
So my background before I went to architecture school was 13 years old, working in construction. I would work a different trade every single summer, and then I went to 2 years of tech school. So again, with that writing on the wall, it was like, well, I have 2 kids, and we are broke. Like, I'm not moving back to North Dakota. I love Colorado. And I was like,
let me jump in there. How soon did you have your kids after college, or was it during college when you had your kids?
I had my first when I was in college as a sophomore. I was 21, and then the second 1 year out of college. So we had her, and then we moved down here while my wife was pregnant, like 2 or 3 months, and then we had our second child here. So, laid off, like it was a kind of a whirlwind with all that. So I put out those ads, and I would crush all the other handymen. And I know you've joked with me on Facebook about this, about the sober subcontractors, but I literally wrote the ads saying that right away, as I would say, clean, young, smart, sober, and I would tell all my background and what I could do. And it was just like hook, line, and sinker for all of these upper middle class tech stay-at-home wives that would have all these projects in Boulder. Boulder was, and still is, now it's kind of grown to Boulder County, is like pretty recession-proof. So when the market crashed real estate-wise in 2008, 2009, the real estate only moved about 1%. Like, it really didn't go up and down too much. It just kind of stayed flat. We're kind of seeing that now. So basically, that August I was laid off, I started to line up all that handyman work. I never took out any kind of unemployment, insurance from the state or anything like that. I worked for cash. I paid the bills. And then I started getting all that CAD work from TurboSquid and Sumex and all of that. And then Alex got laid off, and he thought, hey, I will go to grad school. He got laid off before me. Sorry. He got laid off before me, and he was back in grad school. He was thinking, this recession's only 1 year. I'm going to just go to grad school. I'm going to get my master's of construction and weather the storm, and then come out. I'm going to get a job and do that. But like 50% of the architecture, engineering, and construction community was laid off during that time. It was one of the biggest, it's sort of like the tech recession now, but about twice as bad, actually. Mm-hmm. So you couldn't find a job. I mean, you had to find work. So I'd found that work. Pretty soon I landed a house. Then I landed a clinic. And the clinic was hilarious because the clinic, I had to be a licensed architect. I wasn't even a licensed architect at this point. I actually brought that project back to the other firm who laid me off. It was kind of funny. And and worked with them for a little bit. And then ended up, Alex and I would continue to talk. And I was like, well, I've got this house. I got this clinic. I was like, how much money do you have? And he's like, well, I'm tired of hearing my mom and dad have sex in the next room. So I have like $4,000. I'm moving. Like, I don't care. I was like, perfect. I was like, somebody just moved out upstairs, and I was in this little apartment, 2-bedroom apartment. He moved kitty corner to me upstairs. He had a 1-bedroom apartment, no furniture. He brought 2 lawn chairs, like an old trunk, didn't have a TV or anything, pure bachelor. And then we started, I said, here's how I've been getting work. I've been doing it on Craigslist. And one of the coolest things we did right away, and people might frown on it, but I don't care. Like, capitalism it's a cutthroat business, and like when you gotta feed people, well, you'll pretty much do whatever it takes.
Mhm.
And so we put out a fake ad, and it said, hey, we have land up in like the mountains somewhere, and we want to build like a 2,500 square foot cabin. We're looking for architects. There was no work for architects. So we ended up getting like 100 responses to that fake ad. We shut the ad down. And what that ad allowed us to do is then we put all of that data in where people were coming in with their quotes, how they put together proposals.
Oh, that is brilliant. Wow.
Thank you. I thought it was too. Again, it's a little cutthroat and stuff. And like,
I mean, it is, but I've heard of people doing the exact same thing for, selling real estate or, selling land. If you're trying to, or if you're in land investing, if you're looking to go into buy properties, figure out, what price are you at by putting up a fake listing and have people bid on it. So yeah, people do that for sure.
Yeah. So it allowed us to find like a true price point that we felt like we can beat everybody out at the beginning. Mm-hmm. So then it became like a design problem for us. So we're like, okay, here's the price point. Here's what we know we need to make each month to eat. And then how do we utilize the software? We're these young guns. How do we utilize the software? It's called Revit Architecture is what we use to create a template to where we are drafting like 2 to 4 times the speed of everybody else. And once we hone that in, then we did starve for the next 3 years. So the short answer about when we started the firm, laid off in 2009, incorporated in early 2010, Al moved down, and that's when we started the business. So I would say like 3 to 6 months officially after I was laid off is when we started our architecture firm. We started for about 3 years, and then in 2013 things started to ramp up a little bit. In that time, we had reached out. We thought about hiring a few people, and we put out like an ad for CU Boulder, and they have an architecture program, and the candidates were just not up to what we wanted them to be. CU Boulder at that time was sort of stuck in, I teach there now, so I'm not trying to crap on them totally, but they were stuck in sort of like, why are we still drafting by hand? I mean, I understand the skill that you need to be able to sketch, and that kind of goes for everybody. But so we emailed the faculty and we said, hey, we would be happy to teach your students this software if you have any openings. And the architecture firm said no, but the engineering department has an opening. Would you guys be interested in that? So we started teaching, and what that led to was Alex and I would co-teach his class, and all of a sudden it was like, dang it, we don't have, like, now we have less time to execute the work. We 100% need to hire somebody. And that's where the multiplication started to happen, where we could afford to hire somebody. We hired that first person. They worked for us for about 2 years, and then we hired another person and another person. And up until last year, our architecture firm grew to 10 people. We're back down to 7. We actually think the 3 people that left, like 2 of them, we were happy they left. One we were a little bit sad and not happy about. But in the end, when I looked at it, like I always try to look at everything through, like, there's providence involved. I mean, God is 100% real. And when you look for those fingerprints and you take like sort of a stoic approach to life where you're in certain situations for a reason, there's a yin and a yang. What's the positive way here out? That's kind of the lens we looked at it through. And then, so when those people were laid off, we're like, not laid off. When they left, we were like, well, we basically avoided having to lay people off with this upcoming recession. We got that, and then we ended up actually having our most profitable year ever last year. We landed with like 30% plus profit for a service-based business. That's phenomenal. Usually you want to be like 10% is good, 20% is excellent, and 30% is kind of through the roof.
So what market are you operating in now? Are you primarily residential, or are you doing both residential and commercial?
50% of our usual workload is custom single family homes. And that can be anywhere from like a little kitchen remodel where, a couple will call us, they hate their kitchen, and we'll say, okay, we're going to gut it. Metaphorically speaking, I mean, we're just drawing on paper for the most part. We do have a construction firm where we can talk about that too, but that's a smaller end of our work. And then we do mansions. I mean, we're doing, a house in Boulder that's projected to cost, I think, $4 to $5 million, stuff like that. That's 50% of our portfolio currently. 25% then is multifamily. So we do a lot of townhome developments, where there are these row houses. And then the other 25% is light commercial and light industrial. So we have a pretty diverse workload.
Is that common for an architecture firm to be in, a lot of different, segments of the market?
The smart ones are, yeah. The ones that laid me off were not. They concentrated only on the upper 1%, the 0.1% of the 1%, sort of, and put all their eggs in one basket. And that's primarily the reason why I was laid off. I mean, these people were not privy. They were not good. They didn't have any business acumen at all. I mean, they were the thing about architects is like, I tell this to people all the time. I mean, especially all like the liberty-minded, more right-leaning conservative folks. I'm like, how many architects have you actually met? Like, I'm the only one, right? And so like what I try to frame it as is like, you got to understand the psychology of most architects is the complete opposite of mine. They don't understand basic economics. This is not a business to them. It's all highfalutin art, and they are completely detached, typically, from like the working class, which we pride ourselves on. Riding this, we're right on the fence because we have a construction company and an architecture firm, and I love to tell clients that like we're equally blue collar, we're equally white collar, we're upper Midwest, good old fashioned boys and girls, and we can pick up a hammer. Like if we go on a job site, we can pick up a hammer without hurting our delicate little hands.
So when did you you talked about this construction firm? When did you launch that?
So in 2014 we designed and built a tiny house. It was called Atlas Tiny House, and we landed a spot on HGTV. We did an episode with them, and then 2 like mini episodes after that. Season 1, episode 13 of Tiny House Big Living, and that was really fun. And so we took out a business loan, we funded the project, we built it. The tiny house ended up living off site up at like a tiny house, like a hotel up in Lyons, Colorado, for a couple of years. And so that was kind of the start of it. I mean, I was always doing all those trades as a young guy. Alex did some construction work when he was in the Army. We always wanted to wear all 3 hats: architect, builder, real estate developer, because we know that like the more responsibility you take, the more risk you take, the more reward you get. And as somebody who grew up lower middle class and, felt feeling guilty about money growing up, I was like, I just never want to feel like that ever again. I never want my kids to feel like that. Like that is not the way to live. Like money isn't everything, but not having it is. So we built that first one. It was very popular. It went all over the internet. We won an International Architecture Award. 2015, a year later, because that episode ran about every two weeks, Subaru called us, and Subaru said, "Hey, we want you guys to build 2 more of these, but instead of having these folding awning and folding deck on one side, we want it to happen on both sides. We want to put rock bands on the top of the tiny house. So it needs to have a deck that folds down, railings that fold up, like very difficult to build. I mean, we were completely inventing new engineering, and foldability. It was truly a transforming.
What did they want to use it for?
They wanted it. So what they do is they sponsor this thing called Winterfest. So they wanted to take these, they wanted to have the big Subaru emblems on there. That was the sponsor. And then they worked with sort of this company that does like all these Tougher Mudder type of events, those type of things. And they would bring them they would just go to a different ski resort every weekend, post them up, hand out swag bags, stuff like that. Try to get people just to, think about Subaru, think about it, like sort of mobile sales rooms or whatever. And first I didn't want to build them. And because the first one was just so hard. It was, truly inventing like something is very difficult. It's like giving birth, and I've never given birth, right? But I've seen my wife do it. So Alex was like, well, what if I tell them this number? And I was like, hey, if they go for that number, like, no problem. I'll build it again. I'll talk my wife into letting me kill myself for 3 months. We'll do that. Because we had our eyes set on the prize of like, we need to get enough cash to buy land because we want to do the design, build, develop crossroads. Because we felt like if we could do that, not only, I mean, do you gain wealth in just the knowledge, but then the equity of holding real estate. When I walk people through our headquarters that we designed and built and developed, and I point to the beams and I talk about the HVAC systems and I talk about what we can do, it's almost like it's like catching fish that are very they're just hook, line, and sinker. Because I don't think there's maybe like 2 other architects in the whole state of Colorado that have done what we've done in terms of designing and building and then developing their own office and commercial. And
because the architects aren't thinking of it like you have, the value of it, being able to use it as a sales pitch, right?
100%. Yeah, I don't think they think of that. I think they think it is an ego boost, obviously. I mean, I mean, I'd be lying if I, pull up to the office every day. There's a giant F9 on our big glass garage door. It's awesome. It's like, yeah, we made it in a sense in terms of the town and the region where we operate and everything like that. So then, we did both of those builds. Those are anarchy builds. There was no building codes. It was kind of beautiful because we just could do what we wanted. We had really good budgets for both of them. We could create really, really amazing architecture and engineering with that. So then there was a profitable project for those two other tiny houses, and we had enough cash. We finally had enough cash. And lo and behold, back to Providence here, this piece of land that we were looking at, another developer snatched it up. And they bought it for like $120,000. It was only a third of an acre in Longmont, but you could do a mixed use development. And a couple months, so we were just like, well, we'll just hold on to the cash. Maybe something else will come up. And because we wanted to do an infill project. And then my wife gets a call because she still is a realtor. And she's like, you won't believe it, but the developer that bought it, he knew you guys were bidding on it, and he injured himself. He can't take on the project. He wants to sell it to you guys. He won't even put it back on the market, but he wants $60K more. We did the math. We're like, yeah, that still works. This was like a couple months later. I mean, Boulder County.
He did nothing with it. It was just
held it.
Cash was
king, right? Yeah. So we bought it. We bought it a little bit unconventionally. So probably as somebody who owns land, like most land deals are cash. Even if they're just raising it through like multiple investors and stuff like that, that's the way you should take down land. We did a 3-year balloon loan, so we basically put down, I think, 35%, 40% or something on the land, and they're these special loans with this company where it's kind of geared towards young guys like us who are willing to be a little bit more risky. So it's a 3-year balloon loan because it's all due at the end. They're very small payments each month. But the idea is that, okay, you buy the land, do the due diligence, get all your soils reports done, environmental reports, all that crap. Then you should be able to get through the city within a year after you submit all your documents, do all the design work. It should take you a year to build, a year to sell. There you go. There's the 3 years. So that's what we did. So we bought that in 2019. But the key
puts the pressure on with the balloon loan, the pressure to execute for sure, right?
100%.
I mean,
Yeah, the timeline exactly. Like the fire was there, right? So this was so we bought it in 2018, and then in 2019, 2017 we bought it. 2018 we did all the stuff with the, all the drawings and into the city and all of that. And one of the keys to for me was like, okay, we're gonna wear all 3 hats, right? I have my architecture license. You don't have to have a license to be a developer. You just have to have money. And then the third thing you have to have is you have to be like a licensed contractor to be able to do the work, because we wanted to put that money in our own pockets, right? The 10, 12, 18, 20%, whatever a contractor is going to charge you. So I had to take a Class B contractor's test, which allows you to do all commercial up to 3 stories, or residential. It's sort of like it's a commercial level contractor. Took the tests, passed it. It's open book, not the hardest part. Hardest part was proving the work. So you have to show a track record of work. But I had all that experience as a young guy working for all these other contractors. So I put together a little portfolio. Building inspector said no problem, signed off on it. And then we built everything in 2019, finished it in 2020, sold the last unit. So we did 8 condos, 3-story townhomes basically, and then 9 condos. 1 is commercial, but the other 8 are residential. We sold the last one the day the market was at its high. I think it was like March 13th or March 15th, 2020, and then the next day, it crashed.
You can't time it much better than that.
No,
That's for sure.
at all. Yeah. It was a great, and then we bought stocks and we did well again. So yeah, that's how we kind of started wearing all three hats. We haven't done any real estate development. I don't know if we will. We might, maybe a couple years from now. But right now, we're just trying to concentrate on the construction arm. For me, mainly is to really get that profitable because it's only a baby. I mean, the architecture firm really took 6-7 years to really get the portfolio there, the SEO engine up, and all of that, all the reviews online, the staff in place, the systems, and these last 5-6 years have been phenomenal. I mean, the growth has been fantastic. We have a satellite office in Denver now. So we're just concentrating on that again and trying to become really, really good builders with really, really good subs. And then once we're in a good position again, I would love to try another real estate development. But the first one was just like, I worked 80 days in a row at one point, and it was just intense. I mean, I was driving home today thinking about how difficult that was, but how crappy it would have been if we weren't going to an office every day that we own and that's outright ours and sort of have that.
Yeah, not much time for fishing when you're working 80 days in a row, but we'll get to that in a minute here. So I wanted to ask a question about just your partnership with you and Alex. I mean, I work with a couple of different partners in a couple of different businesses, Lions of Liberty being one, of course, with Brian and I. And, sometimes navigating a partnership, it can be difficult, not for any particular reason against, one partner or the other, but, just like anything, it's not always easy. So I'm curious, just from your perspective, lessons learned or maybe things that you and Alex do to make sure you're aligned and on the same page. Are there any tricks that you've developed over the years?
The one big trick was just recognizing reality. So so we went to school for 5 years. In our third year, actually back up. So the second year, I had just I just observed people. I just really pay attention to like who they're hanging out with. Like, why are some people gravitating towards some people? Why are some people not gravitating towards some people? Is there like, what would be the value of me getting to know this person, talking with them on a different level than just, the standard sort of, high and by sort of thing. Alex was a magnet. So when I watched him in the first and second years of architecture school, I was like, why does everybody love this kid? Like, what is with this kid? Like, I'm like, he's pretty average looking. He's, he's like 6 foot, nothing too special, fairly athletic, but like, I'm just like, I don't know, but like everybody loved this guy. Everybody loved this guy. And I was like, there's something to this guy. So I was like, so the second year, we get to the first studio and he sat down, he picked his desk, and I made it a point to sit across from him. And he did not like me. Alex didn't like me because like, he said, well, you're smooth when you're talking to girls. And I don't like that. I was like, okay. I'm like, all right, well, like, I don't know what to tell you, buddy. Like, you just got to have a little bit of confidence. So he didn't like me, but then we ended up liking each other. And then third year happened. So we at least could tolerate each other. There wasn't any bad blood or anything. Third year came about, and he said, we both were team captains for like these 2 different design projects with different teams. And what we saw, what we would witness is we were like, man, if just Alex and I were on a team, we would fill these voids that the other person can't fill. So I'm much more of an engineer type of brain, much more linear thinking. Alex is much more spherical thinking. So he's thinking about the big picture. He's more interested in telling about the story. I'm more interested in telling about how it's going to get built. And so then what we ended up doing is we ended up saying like, hey, there's a big project coming up in fourth year, and it's a skyscraper project. It's your senior capstone project. You design a skyscraper. It's a big deal. It's a lot of work. And you did do teams of 2. And we said, like, whatever it takes, we're going to be on the same team, right? Yeah. So we when it was time to pick partners, we made sure we did everything we could to be on the team, sure enough, and then we won the skyscraper competition. And from there, I mean, you work with somebody for that long in that kind of an intense environment. Architecture students are notorious for not sleeping and just kind of grinding it out. And so you really get to know somebody, and his discipline is something that I would say we share equal discipline. So there's no filling a void there. It's sort of like a two-headed dragon of discipline. Going to bed early, waking up early, and getting to the studio before everybody else does, and then grinding it out and getting it done, and just being very methodical with how we tackle problems. So that's all translated over to us then in business. And so what we did in business when we first started is I would do most of the billable work. But the idea is like we had to get our name out there somewhere. So Alex would work on, one of the first things he did this flood house, which is a house that he did from his thesis. We made the front page of the Fargo paper within like a couple months after he moved down. We started that tiny house project. It was just a website at first. It was Blake's Tiny House. But TV, that was right when the tiny house movement was just sort of taking off.
Oh, yeah.
And TV, like the TV shows were starting to butt out, and we would get a call maybe like once a month, CBS, NBC, HGTV, they would want to do this. We didn't have any money then, so we couldn't do it. We kept all those contacts in. We did a sizzler or two. Some crews flew out and filmed us and stuff.
So let me jump in. A question I thought of. So do you get paid anything? Like, I'm sure you get paid something when you're on TV, but or nothing for that?
For those reality shows, you don't even get an appearance fee.
Really?
You get the hey, here's some advertising for you guys, and it paid off obviously because I already told the story about it led to getting Subaru and then the land and all that trajectory. No, and then so we've had other. We get these calls. We haven't got one for a while, but we would get them like maybe once a quarter, and a lot of it was like off the grid kind of houses and stuff. And they were like, "Do you have any clients?" That's the first thing they come to you is like, "Do you have any clients?" I'm like, "Oh my God, you guys don't understand those people who want to build the off the grid thing. They don't even want to be known at all. Like these are truly off the grid wackos." So that's the first problem. And then if we would have somebody, then I've always told them as like, I will be on television again if there's an appearance fee because it's work. Like you are acting 100%. I mean, they want the drama. You're not getting a lot of work done. I would only do it with an appearance fee now. So.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to believe that people do it, and I mean, doing it one time is one thing, but yeah, if you're doing it over and over again, I mean, of course, if you have a show, you're getting paid for that, but that's a whole different conversation.
Yeah, yeah. So that's the dynamic of our partnership. Is there's some days he's good cop, some days I'm bad cop. It's happened in meetings. And, since we do our podcast, we've done, 500 episodes or something now. And then we've done plenty of speaking engagements that universities have paid us to do, round tables of other architecture podcasts and stuff like that. And then plenty of business meetings. Like we just know what either person is going to say. I mean, it's pretty much there at this point. But we still fill these gaps. And now lately, since now we're seasoned business owners, our firm's been here for 13 years now, won a lot of awards. We're a recognized name in Colorado, 100%. People know who we are. Basically, we push each other now. So he will have an idea, and then I will be like, now I have to push myself for another idea, and just keep moving it forward and sort of accelerating in that way. Our biggest thing lately is we really want to try to harness AI for architecture. So taking out like the stuff we don't want to do, right, and automating that. And we hope it can level us up again the way it leveled us up when we first started our firm and kind of beat out all those other architects who were much more worried about the art and not the business.
Yeah, that's a really interesting conversation, the whole AI conversation, and how that's a good way to think about it, to bring up how a way a smaller firm or a smaller company could use it to really level up and get on the same platform as these larger giants that have a lot more bureaucracy and they can afford a lot more waste. But maybe with the AI you can be more competitive with them. So that's an interesting thought.
Yeah. Keep the same fee structure. do more with less people, and the profit was going to go up. I mean, it's a very simple equation for me. If we could just figure it out, it really is bleeding edge at this point in terms of the architecture community. So we're actually testing it out like this week and next week. There's like 3 different programs that we've been working with. They're sort of beta programs. We've had to sign NDAs and everything. We're really excited about it. And basically, just to the viewers and listeners, is to make it as simple as possible to understand, is like, we will do a cool design, right? Floor plans, we'll have some elevations, some 3D views. And then there's the nitty gritty part of like, okay, now you got to detail the set and make it constructible, right? So like it has to have more details about the whole thing and formatted. That's the part we want to concentrate on first. That should be an easy one to actually tackle, because we can tell the AI, here's the goal, here's where we're at, sort of fill the gap for us.
I'll bet that AI is very controversial in the architectural community. Am I right?
100%. Yeah, because they don't think like I'm explaining here. Yeah, at all. They're very protectionist folks, you know. They get very angry if anybody else, like software architects, use the word architect. And it doesn't hurt my ego. Like, I'm like, whatever, I'm a building architect. Like, I don't care. At the end of the day, you know, as long as people are fed, we're doing the work that we're passionate about and we're profitable and winning an award here or there, like, I'm happy. I mean, why be worried and get all upset about that sort of thing?
And it's coming whether you like it or not in every industry. So yeah, you can either, you know, lead, follow, or get run over, I guess.
Exactly.
So I want to pivot now. We got about 20 minutes or so left, and I want to talk about fishing. And like the way that I know your fishing story, obviously I've seen everything you post on social media and some of your YouTube stuff, which is really cool. But like the timing of, like, at least from like my outside perspective, when it seems like you started fishing more was right after the 2020 election. Because you used to be more politically active, right? And doing, you know, different, you know, putting yourself out there, going to protests and things of that nature. And is that accurate that around 2020, that kind of just, I don't know what the word to use is, but something changed there and you decided, I'm done with politics and I want to go fishing? Is that?
Yeah, I got banned on January 6th, 2021.
Okay.
From social media. And I don't think it's a coincidence. Yeah. I wasn't this huge Trump guy. I mean, I would tell you the truth that I did vote for him because I wasn't going to vote for, you know, anti-racist nonsense, Joe Jorgensen, loser, libertarian. I just wanted to, you know, do the thing where like, I'm sticking it to the left, right?
Yeah.
And there was nothing like the protest. I was actually even holding a protest every Saturday in the middle of the town that I live in. And it's still going today. It's kind of like a little legacy thing where I'm like, oh, cool, I started that. They still go there. They still do that. Like I'm making a difference legacy wise in that way. There was nothing about the 2020 election anecdotally that I saw on the ground as a grassroots activist that told me Biden's going to win. There's no way that this guy's going to win campaigning from a basement. So then when
I didn't see it either, man.
So then when you saw the rigging, and it was 100%, I don't care. You know, you can have whatever theory you want to latch onto of how they did it and why they did it and everything. I'm convinced, right? So I was just completely pissed off about that. It's like, well, voting is not the way to freedom. Like it is. This is so phony to put all of your time and effort and to do anything politically anyway is such an uphill battle. The problem is like, if you're right of center, I think it boils down to these are people who are highly independent people. So to get them to crowd anything is difficult. It's very hard. So like, it has to be a very special moment for all of that stuff to happen. And as a guy who is successful at almost everything he tries, like the monetization of fishing, for God's sakes, I was just like, I can't be successful here. And it's like out of my hands to be successful. And the icing on the cake was when I got banned from social media, for I don't even remember what. It wasn't anything I really even posted. It was just across the board. I guarantee there's a blacklist over at Facebook. January 6th, 2021. You know what happened? Boom, banned. So the same, all with anybody who's right of center, who was sort of a outspoken figure. because I had access to pages, the LP, being libertarian, a couple million followers in my pocket, and some of the memes I would post would just go nuts. I mean, very famous people would end up posting, like Jack Posibiak, that sort of thing. So when you kind of get that target up, when you make a target for yourself, I was like, what's the end game for me? Is the end game, am I going to get anything out of this? Or should I focus on something else? And as you know, so if it was 2021, well, I would have been 37, 38. And I was like, at the same time, there wasn't anything to do because of COVID and all that crap. And I was just so sick of society. And then our kids are all teenagers and they don't really care about us whatsoever. They're like, I got their own friends. And I was like, what? Like I can finally afford to buy any kind of fishing stuff I want. And I moved here to Colorado a long time ago, being a trout addict. Like, I'm just going to do that now. Like, I'm just going to go full. This is my opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I started doing. I just kind of went nuts. I would just be very obsessive about it. So that first summer, I would go at least 3 times a week. I would go on these very, very deep hikes, a lot of them solo. And it was very much a spiritual endeavor for me, kind of refinding myself, getting back to like what is important in life. God, family, fishing, successful businesses, relationships, and just getting to that peace again. And I kind of checked out even from business. I mean, Alex will tell you, like in 2021, we only were 7% profitable. And a big part of that was I was just like, I'm checked out. Like it was just on the heels of the development too. And we were almost litigated against by these horrible people. And I was just like, what is this all worth? So that led to, and then after doing that for about a year, I was like, there were so many magical moments I should have had on film. I mean, the places I'll go to are just sometimes more often than not, I would say over 90% of the time, I'm the only person on these lakes. I'm the only person at the end of the trail. And just the things you see and the way the fish are caught and the experience, I was like, I want to take other people on this journey with me. And then I remembered my mother would say this over and over again to my first wife, my current wife, other people. She's like, when Lance was a little kid and he was in 2nd grade or something like that, like, when you fill out what do I want to be when I grow up? It was professional fisherman. That was like the dream when I was a kid. And I was like, I'm a big believer in like, you should do everything you're passionate about that you could fail at before you're 40. Because then you have time to recover in your 40s financially or reputation wise or whatever to do that. So then you fast forward 1 year, and then I decided to buy a couple GoPros. My friend Bill McCarthy kind of set me up with all the equipment. I already knew Photoshop really well from all the meme making and just architecture school. I knew Premiere a little bit to do the video, and I just taught myself, and he taught me the basics of like putting together video, and now that's one of the things I do.
So take us through just really a day when you go fishing. You're talking about you're going on a long hike, sometimes solo hikes. How long is the hike in? When you fish, I mean, how are you out there most of the day? Is this like a full day trip that you normally do?
Yeah, it varies, but like the most, I would say, if it's ice fishing, it's ice fishing season right now. And when I would first go, how about this? I didn't start ice fishing first. I just started to do like the picture behind us, go up to these very high alpine lakes and stuff. A lot of it was just exploration because I'd never been to these places. And they're literally, it's an hour from my house to all these trailheads. I have access to the Indian Peaks Wilderness, Rocky Mountain National Park, James Peak Wilderness. It's kind of incredible place to live. So a lot of it was just exploring right away. And, but some of the hikes vary between 2 hours up and then, 2 miles up and 2 miles back. And those lakes are usually like 8,000 or 9,000 feet. But the real magical special ones are all the way up at the Continental Divide, 12,000 feet in the air.
Wow.
And those ones are about 4 to 5 miles up. And you're usually gaining between 2,000 or 3,000 feet. I'll put my a big pack on. Now, what I used to do too is I would pack a lunch, But now I've taken it even further as like, I don't even pack water. I don't pack any food. It's a fasting exercise as well. And then I fast pretty much the whole day. So if I get on the trail, I try to get on the trail. Like some of these trailheads get really packed with people because there's so many people here in Colorado now. I'll try to get on the trail before 6 a.m. And then I'll usually get up to maybe 9 or 10 a.m., start fishing. Ideally, I only want to film for 2 or 3 hours because that's the easiest way to cut a video. Like, the goal is to always catch at least 4 fish, and that'll make a video. Obviously, if you catch more, it'll be a longer, better video. And then, it'll be 1 or 2 p.m., and then I'll head back down the trail, like on a Saturday, and try to make it home to take my wife out to eat or make supper. That's like a typical Saturday. So at the height of it, I was even taking off work Wednesdays and doing this, and then Saturdays, and then Sundays. But now I've kind of toned it down after I've touched each of these lakes or these places at least 2 or 3 times. I know where to go. I know what to do. I truly feel like kind of a professional. I mean, I've guided people in that regard and like successfully put them on fish almost every time. But now I've got it toned down where like, okay, in the summers, I'll take Wednesdays off. That's part of my reward of being an entrepreneur, getting my freedom through financial security, business security. And then Saturdays I'll go. And then just recently after the road decision, I went back to the Catholic Church. So Sundays are dedicated to getting the kids confirmed and going through getting them to be, confirmed Catholics. Which is a lot of work. They have to go to a class. I have to go to a class. We attend mass every Sunday, spend time with the wife, kind of recollect too, because now I'm back in workaholic, crush the competition business mode as well. So I have found I don't even like the word balance, just like the right amount of time for everything. But it took like an obsessive summer to do it. I mean, it was just out of control.
So, something that this makes me think of, you just talked about how sort of going fishing, especially at the beginning there when you were starting out, it was like a spiritual journey for you. And I guess even now when you're fasting, it sounds like it's still a spiritual experience for you. And is it fair to say that was something that led you back to the Catholic Church? I'm assuming you were Catholic previously, or?
Yeah, born Catholic, right? So like if you're baptized, then you're if you're born and you're baptized, that's the Catholic Church says you're born Catholic and you're Catholic forever, blah blah blah.
I was just gonna say that there's a book which I read a long time ago. I'm meaning to read it again. I don't have it in front of me though. I forget who wrote it, but it's called this whole experience is making me think of it. It's called Wild at Heart, and really talks about one thing it talks about is the need for really men to have experiences like this. Getting out in nature, challenging yourself, which so many, I mean, myself included, I don't do it often enough. With I get out and hunt and things like that, but I don't get to go on 3-4 mile hikes to hunt in Pennsylvania. Normally, it's I'm walking a little bit in and then sitting there, or maybe doing a drive every once in a while.
Yeah,
But I think that's really a missing piece in our world today.
It's huge. It's so huge. It's so huge. Yeah, it's just I tell my wife like I come home and I'll still say it every once in a while, and I'm like, I felt like I could have died today. Not that I was not that I wanted to, but that like any of these cliffs you see behind me, like there's instances where you're literally looking at death. I mean, if the rock slid the wrong way and I'm all by myself, I was like, so I really couldn't explain it. And I still can't kind of explain it, but like there's just a gravitational pull that pulls me to that solitude and that danger and that vulnerability that is really special. So, I think it would probably I think it was just sort of me recentering myself. I'm not so sure that, God metaphorically or literally came down and said, like, you need to go back to the church. It was a slow trickle towards that. I had tried, left the Catholic Church, only got my son baptized. Daughter's going to get baptized this Easter and stuff. But I had always felt it pulling me back there. I had always, the tradition, the beauty of the Catholic Church, Tom Woods has written about it, like it literally built Western civilization. Like you can talk trash about, all the nasty things. Nothing's perfect about any church or anything like that.
Yeah.
And then the Roe decision, when 4 of the justices who were Catholic, I was like, I can't. What more proof do you need, Lance? You should go back.
Yeah, that's pretty cool, man. So with fishing, I mean, you said, or your mom said when you were a little kid, you had a goal of being a professional fisherman. So how far do you take this? I mean, is this something that's just going to continue being a hobby that now you've monetized, or are you gonna keep pushing?
I'm gonna keep pushing, yeah, because it's still working. So, like, I'm finding that I'm having to adapt to this stupid TikTok culture and make shorts, which is fine. I just had to like get over my grumpy old man self and go like, okay,
No one
I'll
has
make
an
this
attention
work.
span anymore. That's why.
Yeah. So I officially monetized it maybe only a month or 2 into it, which is awesome. And I've always had this obsession of like monetize everything, like make money at every single thing you do. And it's not like I live this lavish lifestyle at all. Like I drive a used Suburban. I just put a $6,000 transmission in it because I refused to buy a new truck. I grow a garden. Like we eat the fish I catch. I live a pretty frugal life. Like I'm not doing this outlandish, crazy stuff. Buying big boats and stuff like that. So I monetize it on Newsbreak was the first place. And people are like, Newsbreak? I'm like, yeah, they actually have like 10 million subscribers or something per month. And at first what they were doing, which was amazing, but I don't think they'll ever bring it back, is if you put up a video that was between 30 seconds and 2 minutes, you would get $25, no matter how many views it got.
Really?
So at one point I was making almost $1,000 a month. That's sort of the height of it. Now it's trickled down to like, I only make maybe $200 to $300 a month, but it pays for, all my fishing stuff, which I don't even need that much anymore because I've kind of got it all in the bag now. And I know what I want to use and all that sort of thing. So now what I'm doing is I'm taking that Newsbreak revenue and I couple that with my YouTube channel. The YouTube channel just got monetized. You have to have 1,000 you have to have 1,000 subscribers, 4,000 watch hours and stuff.
Yeah. We're not, we can no longer monetize on YouTube. We perpetually have 2 strikes.
So no.
Yeah.
You're bad guys. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what I do is I take the Newsbreak money now and I divvy it up and I promote 3 or 4 videos on YouTube a month. So the goal is, I don't know if I would ever professionally guide. I guide people maybe 2 or 3 times a month. A lot of people who have never went fishing before, who are just like close friends, and it's sort of like an honor thing of me giving back and like showing them and teaching them and showing them a good time. They might not ever go up to this place, like in this background, because it's a hard hike to do. So like there's nothing pointing me in the direction of stopping doing it, even beyond money. Because like one story I'll share with you real quick is I just met this guy, and I've met these like through the politics that I was doing with Rally for Our Rights and the Libertarian Party and all of that. That's where I made all my local friends. It took me a decade to find like real local friends. Some of them are now my employees. Leslie Hollywood is doing our website, redoing it for us. And so I have all these awesome, awesome friends that I agree with politically. My wife loves them. She sold them houses, all that kind of good stuff. And then the fishing community now is in play. And I'm like, people find me on Fish Angler, people find me on Instagram, people find me on YouTube, and then Fish Explorer. And on Fish Explorer, I'm the regional editor for the Indian Peaks Wilderness, James Peak Wilderness, and Rocky Mountain National Park. And this guy reached out to me the other day. His name is Dallas, maybe in October. And he was like, I want to try some of these. I'm tired of fishing on the Front Range in Colorado. It's very flat, and then the mountains are behind us. And I was like, sure, I'll take you. Like, let's go up to, I'm planning on going to Blue Lake. That was a crazy hike. It was like 4.5 miles, like one of those very, very, very hard ones. So he went on the hike with me. It was very difficult for him. And I just cruised up the mountain. And so I've fished with him now 3 or 4 times since. Right after he got off the trail with me, he was like, I'm changing my life. He quit drinking soda. He started working out again. And now he's like 30 pounds lighter. He's in excellent shape. He's 36.
That is awesome.
So there's stuff like that happens where I'm like, well, how isn't that Providence? Like I was supposed to go through this whole big journey, and now I've like influenced that guy to live a better lifestyle through one trip with me.
Yeah, I mean, and that's, people talk about how influencers are, bad people, or, kind of painting with a broad brush, but that's just, I mean, there's so many different ways to influence people. I mean, some random person looking you up found you, you agreed, agreed to go fishing together on a crazy 4.5 mile hike, and the guy has a different life now. Like, that's just absolutely bonkers, but so cool.
Yeah, very cool. Yeah. So there's stuff like that. Yeah. And I mean, it's just, and fishing is a lifelong sport. I know I've seen you post some pictures of yourself fishing and stuff like that. I know you like to go hunting and out the outdoors. Um, and so it's just a resurgence of like a passion that I had when I was a kid. And now I can afford it. Like I can buy whatever I want fishing wise if I need to. So it's like, and then what else is there to do? Because honestly, my wife is a realtor, so she's working all weekend. It's like, well,
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
I talk to people all the time, not all the time, but it seems like it's often, where they say, I want to get my real estate license.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, well, okay. I don't have my real estate license. I just operate, in the vacant land realm. But the first thing I do know is very successful realtors. My sister-in-law is a realtor, extremely successful. But every weekend, yeah, right. Every weekend, most evenings, you're working. I'm like, if you want to pursue that, go for it. Just want to warn you, you're not going to have weekends the rest of your. I mean, as long as you're being a real estate agent, if you want to be successful, real estate agent has become like this like sexy career, and it can be, right. But I think, I don't know where it got like this sort of thing associated where it's like easy money. It couldn't be farther from the truth.
I think it's all the Grant Cardones of the world, those guys showing it come out that way. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, for me, it fits and all of that. And I made a vision board this year. First time I've ever made a vision board. I always thought it was kind of like wooey and fruity and all that. But I made one because I'm back on this, like, okay, total lifestyle, like successful entrepreneur with all these different things, like back to Catholicism. Here's what I want to do with the kids. And then the one big missing piece is my brother's actually a professional hunter. He's the hunter. I'm the fisher in the family. And
there's a TV show there, man. There's a TV show.
Yeah, exactly. We want to call it American Psycho. That's what we think we should call it.
I love it.
Yeah, because of the last name. So I have on my vision board this year that I'm going to get a bow. I am going to shoot a deer with him. And I think that's one of the big pieces of life, especially that he's seen and he's been so thankful for. He's like, I didn't have my brother for like 33 years or whatever. And now my brother's back and we have this incredible bond again. We fish now there's annual trips, Thanksgiving, Christmas, paddle fishing, stuff like that. And we talk every day. So it's just been like, in the end, it's not even about the fish. I guess it ends up being about these people and these relationships that become really special and meaningful. I mean, your fishing buddies, especially if it's your brother, like that's a pretty unique thing.
Yeah, I saw the pictures you posted with you and your brother on Facebook with a haul of fish, and you guys look almost identical. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah,
at least from my perspective. Cool. But Lance, I think we're out of time here. Thanks for being gracious with your time. Before I let you go, you got stuff to plug. I know you got the podcast, F9 Productions, your social media. So plug away.
Yeah, check me out for the podcast. Anybody who's interested in ever starting a business, even though it's an architecture-related podcast, we make it broad so that if you are starting a business, we try to teach you how to do it from scratch. We lay everything bare, the bad, the good. So start at episode 0. You can go to insidethefirmpodcast.com, and we're on all the major platforms. You can go on the YouTube channel. We do film for YouTube now. And then if you're looking for some fishing action, go to Fishing with Lance on YouTube, on Newsbreak, and on Instagram.
All right. Lance Cayko, thanks for coming on the show, man. This was a lot of fun.
Thanks for having me, bud.
All right. Hope you guys enjoyed that interview with my friend Lance Cayko. Cayko. I said it wrong. Well, Lance Cayko. You got to say it right. You got to commit to it. That's how you say his name. An awesome dude, just a genuinely good person, an honest person. I love his I love his Facebook posts and just how honest he is in talking about the subjects of today. And my favorite part of the interview today was the story he shared about someone who reached out to him about going fishing. And Lance took this guy who he didn't know fishing up the mountain, down the mountain, fished, caught fish, had fun. And this guy decided to change his life, to change his health, to get in shape, to quit drinking soda. Fantastic. I just love stories like that. And I love what people like Lance are doing. Um, Lance is a liberty-minded person, a freedom-oriented person, and he's tried the political stuff, right? Which, there's a time and a place for that, but he's applying the principles that guide him, not to politics per se, but to his life, to his business, to his family. And that, my friends, is what we need to do as liberty lovers, as people who want to live in a free society. I think we all, myself included, could do much more to embrace that and to really, really exemplify that behavior to our peers, to our friends, to our family, to our communities. So that's what I take away from this interview. Let me know what you take away. Let me know on Twitter. Follow me at John Odermatt. You can also follow me on Instagram at John Odermatt, or find me on Facebook. John A. Odermatt is what I'm listed at on the old Facebook URL. So you can find me there too. And you can always shoot me an email, john@lionsofliberty.com, if you have a guest suggestion, if you just want to give me a comment on the show, or anything else of that nature. I do read and try to reply to every message and email that I get. So appreciate you all. Appreciate everything you all do for listening to this show, to this program, listening to Lions of Liberty as a whole, to Brian's show, and everything we do here. You are the reason why we continue to fight on and press on, and we will not stop. We will not stop. So hopefully you all have a great week, and I will talk to you all next Monday. This is John Odermatt signing off. Always remember to keep your head up and the fires of liberty burning.